We're starting our unit on rational expressions, and it involves a lot of ratios or fractions. So remember that a rational number can be expressed as a fraction or ratio, whatever you want to call it. A rational expression can be expressed as a fraction with polynomials, or we could say two polynomials divided. So how do we simplify a rational expression? The first step is to factor the numerator and the denominator. Okay, so if we take a look at the expression that we have here, we have 2a plus b, which is not factorable. Oops, that's a plus. And then here we have 10a squared plus 5ab. So we have a GCF of 5a. So I will put the 5a there. That leaves me with 2a in the first term and b in the next term. Okay, so here I have factored my numerator, my denominator. So the question here is, what is the common factor? If we notice, we have a 2ab in the numerator and the denominator. That is my common factor. So that is helpful to us because I can now divide out the common factor. If you remember, anything divided by itself is 1. So 2ab divided by 2ab is going to be 1, and they're not there anymore. So the last step is to write the answer in simplest form. So what do we have in the numerator? A 1. What do we have in the denominator? A 5a. Okay, let's look at another example. We have first, we have two trinomials. And so first we have to factor the numerator. So we have a trinomial with no GCF. 1 times 12 is 12. Factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. We want the two factors that give us a positive 7 when we add them. So that would be the 3 and the 4. So through the beauty of video, I use my grouping and I get x plus 3 and x plus 4 as my factors. For the denominator, I'm going to factor again. 1 times negative 27 is negative 27. The factors of negative 27 would be 1 and 27. Oops. 3 and 9, and I believe that is it. Something has to be negative here, one of the factors, and we want to add to get a negative 6. So I know 3 plus negative 9 is negative 6, and when I multiply 3 and negative 9, I get negative 27. So again, fast forward, I have my factors of x plus 3 and x minus 9. So I've now done my first step, factor the numerator and the denominator. Next step is to find the common factor and divide that out. So I notice I have an x plus 3 and an x plus 3. Now some students want to now divide out these two x's, but we can't. This whole factor is x plus 4. We can't separate this or the x minus 9. So the only common factors we have are the x plus 3's. So now what is our answer in simplest form? We have x plus 4 over x minus 9. So that is our simplified fraction. Now we're going to add something else to the mix, and that is excluded values. Okay, so hopefully you remember from elementary school or middle school that there is one number that you can never have in the denominator or divide by, and that is 0. So no 0 in the denominator. So what we have to find out is what would give us 0 in the denominator. Even though the x plus 3 has been divided out, it still can cause us problems. So we look at the x plus 3. What makes x plus 3 equal 0, and what makes x minus 9 equal to 0? Because if this is 0, 0 times this stuff makes the whole thing 0, and vice versa. So subtracting the 3 gives us x cannot be negative 3, and adding the 9 gives us x cannot be a positive 9. So our excluded values for this function or expression are negative 3 and 9. So there are three multiple choice examples, so you should be able to find your answer once you get it. So go ahead and pause the video, try those out, then resume the video to see or check your answers. All right, to factor or to simplify these, again, the first step is to factor. X minus 3 cannot be factored. X squared minus 6 is factored into x minus 2 times x minus 3. And let me talk about that one because this is a tricky one. 1 times 6 is 6. And factors of 6 are 1 and 6, 2, and 3. So we want a negative 5, but we have a positive 6. So it is common to say 1 plus negative 6 gives me negative 5. But if I multiply these, I get a negative 6, which is not what I want. This is not the set of factors you use. Negative 2 and negative 3 will also give me a negative 5 when I add, and will give me a positive 6 when I multiply. So that is where I got those factors. Okay, so now we have to divide out our common factor of x minus 3 and x minus 3. And please don't forget that we always have that little 1 in front there. So 1 divided by x minus 2 is my solution. Now, it didn't ask for the excluded values, but I still want you to tell me the excluded values. So with x minus 2 equals 0 and x minus 3 equals 0, we can't have that. So x cannot be 2 and x cannot be 3. All right. Looking at our next one, we will factor our numerator here. We have a GCF of 25. So when we factor that out, that gives me x minus 5. And then here, this is a difference of two squares. So the square root of x squared is x. Square root of 25 is 5. So when I factor that, I get a sum and difference of x and 5. So what do we have in common? We have the x minus 5, which divides with the x minus 5. And so here I have 25 divided by x plus 5 as my answer. And for my excluded values, let's see, x cannot be a negative 5, and x cannot be a positive 5. And my last example, if I factor this equation, 1 times negative 15 is negative 15, 1, and 15, 3, and 5. I need a negative 2. So 3 and negative 5 gives me negative 2. Multiply to give me negative 15. This is my choice. So I have x plus 3 times x minus 5. And then in the denominator, I have a GCF of x, which leaves me with x plus 3. So divide out my common factor to get x minus 5 over x, which is b. And my excluded values, this one tends to get forgotten, but you have to set each factor equal to 0. So the rule is x cannot be 0. And if we set this factor equal to 0, x cannot be negative 3. So these are my excluded values.